It's been a few months since you've probably seen me on a video. I did a video a few months ago regarding expectations and not necessarily conforming to societal expectations. I did a video on that, but the previous time that I've done a video where I've actually been on camera, it's probably been about 6 or 7 months. The video I did on um, about the push-up challenge. But this thought has been coming to my mind, and I've been wanting to do a video on it lately. I'm not around my typical setup, but it's such a beautiful day outside that I figured that I'd come out here and just kind of actually just talk about it straight on camera. So it's not a typical video, but I kind of did just want to voice a few things that have been on my mind for the past several months or so. So I've been at my parents' place for a little while, just kind of enjoying being around the family, enjoying my time in Alabama, and it's been great, and it's allowed me to kind of get into a really good headspace in a way that I haven't been in quite a while. If you look back on some of my previous videos, I remember mentioning it was around 2012. There was a period in my life that I contributed as when I was born into my second life. Those are you guys who are familiar with the Bible, you're familiar with Christianity, and it may be this way in other religions as well, where they talk about being born again. And when I was younger, I used to hear that being said more so when you get baptized, that when you get baptized, you're born again. Again, I don't 100% know if that's 100% accurate, but I feel like that's what I remember. But I remember when I got baptized, I was about 12 years old. And at that point in time in my life, I didn't necessarily know myself. I didn't necessarily know my beliefs. I knew what I grew up around. I knew the tradition when I grew up around, grew up in a church and everything like that. I knew that, but I didn't necessarily know or have my own connection with these things that, I was hearing. But as I grew older, I began to sort of establish that connection. As you grow older, a lot of things become a little bit more meaningful in life. And some of the things that you may have heard when you were younger, those things, they become a little bit more personal to you. You can kind of understand why you believe certain things. And I think that's always important to have an idea of why you believe what you do believe, not just based off of tradition. But so as I grew, I began to to understand these things a little bit more. But when it comes to like the idea of being born again, I contribute that year as I say it was my second birth in life, not just necessarily in the religious aspect, but it was the point in my life that my eyes kind of opened a little bit. It was the point in my life, and some people who may, talk about red pill, maybe it was the point in the life that became a thing. But more so for me, it was the point in my life where I started questioning things. I started questioning the meaning of life. I started questioning why am I here. I started questioning God, what God was to me. And I talk about these things sometimes, and I don't necessarily always mean them in the religious aspect, or that there's a certain God or a certain person that's God or something like that. Sometimes I talk about these things more so in the way to, because some people think of it as the universe. Some people think it as some higher power or creator. I think it's more so what you think of it as or who you think of it as. But it was the point in my life that I began to, I think, get that connection with God in my life, with whatever God is. I don't know what it is. I can't say 100%, but it was the point. I'm talking about the mindset I had back then. It was the point that I began to sort of establish that sort of connection. And it's funny because I did the same exact thing that I'm doing out here right now. I spend time just walking out in my parents' pasture, just kind of reflecting, getting in my head. And, that's where I was able to kind of establish that connection. But, years have passed since then. That was 2012. And I felt like, or at least recently, I've been able to realize in my life how disconnected I have been from that, from the source or creator. Again, if there is one. Again, these are my beliefs. But, and my life began to sort of go down a not necessarily a destructive path, but I talk about this a lot with the frequency in your life. You can tell when you're off your frequency. You can tell when the life that you're living is not 100% the best life it can be, right? You're not necessarily connected with yourself. You're not necessarily 100% connected with your purpose, or whatever it is that's 100% meaningful to you. You're not necessarily connected with that. But that's one of the things that I've been able to kind of realize that, hey, man, you've been kind of sort of off that for a little bit. Um, you've been off that journey for a little bit. That connection that you had with nature, and maybe you can think of God as nature. I love nature. Again, so I've realized that in my life that I've been disconnected with whatever that is, and I've been trying to bring it back. But to relate this to really what I want to talk about is the importance of disconnecting, the importance of unplugging. And when I say unplugging, I mean unplugging from, you know, just, I don't want to say society, but unplugging from um, the world that's man created. Maybe that's a good way of saying it. Unplugging from this man-made world, because the man-made. I used to think of this as there's the earth, there's nature, there's the things that have been created here, and that we're a part of. But then the world on top of that is what we've created. The world on top of that is what we've created with, rules, social expectations. It's the norms. It's the outlook, how everything is going. And a lot of times I look at that and I can say that the world that we live in right now is it's a very chaotic world. It's one that sometimes you can get caught up and realize that things look a little grim for the future. I try to stay hopeful, but there are a lot of things that are happening right now. A lot of things that go on that just it makes me feel that mental health is going to be a major issue progressively as time goes on. And I think that this world is becoming increasingly difficult to live in. It's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain your sanity. And I think a major reason why that is because sometimes we're so plugged in. Sometimes we're so plugged in to social media. We're so plugged into the news. We're so plugged into television, advertisements, the things that seem to be getting sold on us that we just don't know. Even when it comes down to being sold products, stuff that we're getting marketed. We are so plugged in that we don't realize that a lot of these things that we're so connected to, that we put a lot of our attention to, are really pulling us away from ourselves. Battery's low here. I'm trying to make this quick, but a lot of these things are pulling us away from ourselves. They're pulling us away from our true identity, and they're pulling us away from our nature. And I think we realize that when we start to feel, just as I felt, that something's not right. Something's not right, and you have to have self-awareness to be able to detect that. But I think is when we start feeling that something's not right, that we that a lot of times that could be it. This year has been extremely crazy. This year, I remember when it first started off with the pandemic, and I spent a lot of time watching a lot of news. And I think that this is what a lot of people may have done. Well, it was just like there's so much going on, and we're so consumed by, this many people have died today. This thing's getting this crazy. Stay indoors, stay away from other people. And I get it. It's good to be aware of what's going on in this aspect, but a lot of times, we can create problems in our own lives by being so consumed in that. People were probably so scared that, I think there was a statistic, or they're saying that a lot of heart disease and other issues were created during this because, the worry and stress that it made upon people. And not only that, but this year's just been, we've had deaths of major, or, celebrities that we're all familiar with. Kobe, for example, I think he died, was it back in January, February? And there have been plenty others that have passed away as well. Family members. Some I know family members who have passed. I know friends, very close friends. They have lost loved ones. They've lost some of them have lost their mothers this year. And it's been a crazy year, and it can be kind of grim. But this year has been just nuts. But on top of that, it's a lot more stuff going on. Every video that you watch, everything that you watch, no matter what it's about, if you look in the comment section, you'll see people arguing about things. You look in, and maybe it's been this way for a while, or it's always been this way, but it's just, I'm increasingly noticing it. On social media, there's always something to argue about. We just had the recent election going on, and we're this whole thing of voter fraud and a lot of stuff that's been going on lately that has just been, if you stay too tuned into this stuff, it can kind of drive you nuts. It can kind of cause a lot of stress in your life, and I think that it just kind of drains our energy. So what I'm, like I said, the main thing I want to mention here is how important it is to unplug away from some of these things. It's difficult to do sometimes. I get it. Sometimes we want to stay well informed of what's going on. So obviously, it's good to kind of have an idea of what's been, what goes on and everything like that. News here and there. But when you're like too consumed by this stuff, it can really weigh on your mind, and it can really weigh on your mind and really just pull you away from your essence. It can really pull you away from, the glue that has really kept you together for so long. And this is one of the major reasons why I say that it's very important to kind of unplug away from social media here and there. It's important to unplug away from, a lot of the things that, even the things that we kind of look to for advice, even the videos and channels that we watch that we look to, for guidance, for advice. Sometimes it's good to kind of unplug from that. Recently, I picked up the Bible again, which was the first time that I've really done this in some years. And it's not necessarily because, I'm not necessarily doing this because, not necessarily doing this because I think that it's the all in one doctrine to live by, but more so because I think that there are things in it that, go along with my spirituality that I can, perhaps learn from, things that I can apply to my life, that can kind of help me get back connected to what I feel that I've lost in my life. And I've almost kind of realized that there's a certain strength that I'm missing in my life, that if I can get back connected to wherever that connection was that I lost with nature, with God, whoever it is, if I can get that back, there's a tremendous power that I can kind of realize in my own life that I have been lacking, that that I that has diminished away over time. But anyways, the main thing is that I want to talk about was just primarily the importance of unplugging away from, all the media sources, unplugging away from all the news, all the, the current events. And again, it doesn't say that you should be oblivious to what's going on, but again, just make sure that while you're doing this, that you're taking time to tend your mental sanity, that you're taking time to tend your garden, that you're taking time to, really get in contact with yourself, to get in contact and do a little self-reflection maybe. Do those things that can be, beneficial to your mind, your essence, to your soul, to pretty much the deepest part of you. Do those things that make sure to tend that in your life. And just be careful with how much you're consuming, how much time you spend, especially arguing with people online, arguing with whoever. Just be careful that it doesn't become so much about knowing the all right answers, or knowing all the right answers, or enforcing what you believe on other people. Sometimes it's just nice to just take a step back and make sure that you're spending time for yourself or on yourself. So the main thing is just unplug. If this is any way related to red pill, maybe it's just unplugging from that matrix. Again, I didn't want to really take it down that area, but main thing is just unplugging away from the things that can really just grab at you and sort of pull you away from yourself. But anyways, I hope I got this this video out there as I wanted to. I'll probably revisit this topic again. Again, just kind of taking a little break out here, so I figured that I would talk about it a little bit. Not the standard video, of course. I'll probably be bringing you a few more of these over the next few days or weeks. But anyways, I hope that you guys have been well. I hope that 2020. I hope that you're still here and that you're still healthy, and everyone. We're pretty much close to 2021, so I hope that if things have been difficult for you this year, that you can begin that process of just kind of building things back up, and that your 2021 will be a lot better. I haven't really been that active this year, and I think more so has been just because I've had to unplug myself. So I've been wanting to unplug myself a little bit. So I've been unplugging myself a little bit. So it's been very beneficial to me. So I'll continue that reflection in my own life, and doing the healing process for myself. But anyways, again, hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll get in contact with you soon, and stay blessed.